where do you stop the line?
Right. It doesn't help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm learning as we proceed.
I would like to propose that we accept these planning group terms and conditions of reference, if you are happy with that, Andrea, because I think it gives you a guideline, and I think it's your interpretation.
So I just query one thing, Colin.
Yeah.
When you lay out the terms of reference at the top, like
Yes.
section 3, matters relating to planning applications should adhere to valid planning criteria when assessing the merits of an application. And then down at points of note, the planning group should not make recommendations to the council, but in section 3 it's saying that you should actually appraise it on the planning criteria and make recommendations to the full council for debate. So it's not about you recommending, it's about you've actually highlighted issues to discuss council. So it's not about recommendations whether we should be for or against.
No,
it's
no.
So
Yes.
maybe that point of note needs some work around it, because it's. I understand where you're coming from, but the whole point of the planning group is to actually look at the planning applications and possibly raise concerns within the framework of your planning criteria, which then should be discussed at a full forum.
Right.
Is that what the group's intention is?
Recommendations, aren't they?
So, Jen, would it be something along the lines of the planning group should highlight the planning issues and should not make recommendations?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the councillor's guide, that we should have a schedule for the whole year of meetings. So this is a full planning meeting, and we do have the ones in 2 weeks' time. The council meetings can then have subcommittees that will bring together a small number of councillors to concentrate on a specific function, planning, highways, it might be on the SID, we've had all sorts of subjects. And what that's to do is to actually share the workload. So instead of 12 people being bogged down with one subject, that 3 people take it away and become the experts. So some committees are permanent or standing committees, but others are set up for short-term projects. Many councils have a permanent planning committee allowing them to comment on planning applications as required without convening a full council meeting. So again, it's the sharing of information. Some committees are advisory, and I would say that that's what the planning committee, that's their role. They make recommendations to the full council, which then makes the overall decision. There are also executive committees where the full council delegates responsibility for certain decisions to the committee. The committee then reports its decisions to the full council. This helps the planning committee to make decisions without referring to the full council. So subcommittees are appointed by a committee of focused decision on a specific subject and the smaller groups of councillors, and that they all operate as committee groups, so they're not decision making. Was that?
The only thing I would say is the reason why we've always used it as a planning group, not as a planning committee, is once you become a committee, you have to have minutes and agendas, you have to publicise your meetings, and you probably have to have yes. So the fact that you're a working group and you're not making decisions, you don't have to have all that. You're just literally bringing information together and passing it on.
I mean,
but once you call yourself a committee, all changes.
I mean, my gut feeling also, listening to that, is we are a small village. Our precept is £30,000. We have small groups that look at paths, highways, and whatever. But I don't think that necessarily suits us. But I'll, by all means, discuss it if you want to. But I think the way we're set up, it works. I think the planning group will work, but based on its
working party
advice. Yeah. So there is some revised wording there, Bob, that you were going to suggest.
Well, it was only that, trying to follow up on what Warwick said, which was just on that first one, say the planning group will highlight planning issues and should not make recommendations, because that's in effect what they're doing. They're highlighting what the planning issues are that the council needs to take into account.
Thank you. And not make it. So if we I mean, we can do two things. We can recirculate this with that, providing people are happy with that wording, or we can now take a vote on it and say, right, this is it, we accept it, and we move
We're
forward.
accepting it with the revised wording, in other words.
Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favour? Thank you. Well done. So we're moving forward. Training sessions.
I've got training sessions down here. There are two types of training sessions. There's the planning one, and there is also the code of conduct. Currently, we have John on the 18th of July and David Sturgis on the 30th of July for the planning, and in the code of conduct, we've got 10th of September Colin and David Sturgis, and the 18th of September Bob. That's what I've got at the moment. Now, go on.
I'd like to go on both of those, but ones that are earlier.
Okay, right, okay, so
Can I do the 18th of
18th of
July
July.
on planning, please?
Yes,
So-
and I'll go to code of conduct as well, which is
What date am I going down on planning?
you're down on the 18th of July.
Well, do you want to come down on the 18th with me?
yes, and the code of conduct is,
The 10th or the 18th of September.
is it, I'll have to just check with that.
Can I just say something about the code of conduct, which might make everybody's life easier? One of the things that I've been offered by Melanie Wellman, which I thought was a very good offer, was that she did say that if we can't meet a fairly high level of support for the recognised dates, she would come and do a separate one just for us.
That
Which is amazing.
That would be brilliant.
That's
I mean, I couldn't believe that she had made that offer, really.
Yeah.
So I would need to have from, if we decide that we want as many as possible, you know, I can go back to her and say, look, I've got 10 people who are very interested. Can you throw some dates at me?
Yeah.
Probably in October, I imagine.
Yeah.
Would that be something that would suit the council?
Yeah, that would be better.
And if we could get a full complement of people for that,
That's good.
then obviously that's going to be worth her while and better for everybody else.
very good.
So does that mean that I can remove this?
Well,
10th
can
of September?
you leave with me and I'll just check with
Okay.
Melanie if she's still prepared to make that offer. You know, it was a couple of months ago that she offered it to me.
Yeah.
But if she is prepared to do that, if I come back with some, say, October dates, because presumably Andrew and Warwick, you'll be around more in October rather than September.
Yeah, we can't do the code of conduct in
So-
September.
But if I could get some October dates, that might be more suitable. And if Nigel was able to do something, so we're probably looking at maybe try and do it on a Monday night, perhaps. If we can do one to get Nigel on board as well. If she can come, because she lives in Burnham, I think, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She used to. So she'll
That
probably
would be
do
really
it
good, actually.
in the evening. So I'll certainly take that up and see whether we can get that sorted out.
Okay, next item, 9E. There was some concern expressed by David about our responsibility to the church, and he also mentioned that he was concerned about the
Is it possible to take the two separately? Because if it is, then I can stay into the church.
The church.
but I have to get out of the shop.
take the
They are very,
again,
very
Dave.
separate. They're-
Yeah,
it's
these
a question rather than a...
Yeah, again, they are, how can I put it? There's a lot behind the two things that you brought up, and there's a lot of knowledge and history behind them. And, you know, you brought it up, but I think it's just shown the importance of a debate and Bob explaining to you quite clearly the issues that you bring up in your emails, which are, there's a lot behind them. It's like the speeding issues, hopefully Richard has explained. Bob has explained the housing, and I think that's why it's important to have a proper debate in our parish council meetings. But if we deal with the church, if you like, we do take on the responsibility of maintaining the grounds of the church, and we have done. It's part of our budget, and we like to see a nice tidy church, and it wouldn't be we're certainly not considering withdrawing that. And secondly, on the question of supporting the church, no, the parish council do not directly support the church, but what we do as individuals is we fundraise for the church in our own right. So in other words, John has organised evenings in the past. I am organising a fundraising event in October for Jed's roof appeal. So that's the way we do it. So the parish council do not directly support St Michael's Church. We will help them where we can. We do the grounds, and we, as individuals, not councillors, we do our bit behind the scenes. And I think that seems to sum it up.
Can I just give you a background to the church support? We're not actually allowed in statute to financially support the church. We can do so, as we have done recently, by writing a letter of support verbally to what their projects are. But it goes back, apparently, a very, very long way to when parish councils and churches were sort of amalgamated as one body. And the statute has not been changed in all of that time. And we are not allowed, apparently, I'm told, and I have no reason to disbelieve that I've been given the right information from SALC, that we cannot support financially a church.
So how do we stack that up against the fact that we're spending £3,500 a year on the church?
Because the churchyard is regarded as a sort of fabric of the community rather than the building.
Okay.
So we are allowed to do that, but we're not allowed to do the building, and that's the difference.
So can I just close the meeting? Jed, do you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to say that the churchyard is open for use by anyone, and any denomination can have a burial there, or the churchyard can be used by anyone. It's a public space in that sense.
I understand.
So
Yes.
we choose
Whereas
to
the
maintain-
church is not, and it is denominational and is used by the Church of England.
So we choose to maintain it, David.
Understood.
That's our position, and it will remain that way.
The same also applies, actually, just while in the same vein, the same also applies to schools. We can't give money to the village school. What we can do is we can give grants towards a project. Say the Parent-Teacher Association wanted to get involved with, we could do that, but we couldn't actually pass funds on to the school directly, which we have been doing in recent years, but that has now been no more.
Do you want to stay here?
Not for the shop, I've been advised I've got to get out.
Okay, well we've also made awareness about should we be concerned about the shop. Well, again, there are people that are working alongside Caroline to monitor her finances and monitor her, if you like, welfare in the shop. It is a difficult situation. There's a lot, as many of us know, there's a lot of history, again, as what has gone on in that shop.
Can I just make a point here? I'm a little bit concerned that we're discussing somebody in their private life.
No, I'm not discussing...
No, I'm not saying you are,
No,
but I was just a little bit concerned about it from
No,
that point of view.
But
No, just before you...
And I mean, in a
You
nutshell,
understand what I mean?
in a nutshell, it is something that the parish council should not be involved with, and we should stay right out of it. It is a commercial decision. It is nothing. It's up to us to use the shop. But as I said at the last meeting, Caroline makes every effort to consult our villagers. She sent out almost 500 questionnaires. How many did she get back? 31. And we've had the same experience ourselves. We send out, and how many do we get back? 5, 10. So it's up to people to recognise and use that shop, David. And it's not part of our remit to enter into.
I mean, that one last bit was what I was looking for, because it was just a question, really.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah. Can you get Bob back in, please? Malcolm? Sorry, I wasn't going
No,
down
I
that.
know, but I just felt,
Yeah,
Sensitive.
yeah, it
Yes.
is.
yes.
General communications. I'm grateful, if you remember, I sent out an email asking that, bye Jade, thank you for coming, asking councillors not to continue debates that have gone on in our meeting, not to continue them after our meeting. And I think one of the principal reasons is, and it has been highlighted that we mustn't be secretive and we must be transparent to our residents. If we have online email communications following our meetings, that's exactly what they are. They are secretive, and therefore we shouldn't do it. We should debate openly in our meetings, and this is the forum where we meet to discuss that business, and tonight has been a wonderful example of us making clear very valid, if you like, criticisms or questions that are made of us. So this is the forum. Thank you very much for not responding to those items. I don't think we should. This is the forum where we do all our business. And there have been a lot of emails going backwards and forwards, but I think you know, we've got to be very careful how we word those emails. Some of the statements I've made are not helpful, but this is the most helpful forum where we can openly discuss, and we've had a really good meeting tonight, and I think this is the forum what we should do.
I mean, my email to you was just about sort of points of order, which was something I was thinking about, of how the meeting was proceeded, and that was directed at you, Colin. So, you know, I when I read all the emails, I could see that you were not commenting on the one that I sent you originally. It was all the comments that were kicked off around that, because I thought they were valid points that I sent you, to do with the way Malcolm was treated at a meeting and something like
Yes.
that. And there was something on reflection, and I did say that in my email to you, that it was when the grey cells were ticking over, it's just, yeah. So
No, Warwick, I appreciate that. I've spoken to John. He realises that the spotlight is on. I've spoken to Malcolm. He is, for want of a better word, I think to say relaxed about it, Malcolm. But I think
that to me wasn't secretive. That was about actually making a point that I just thought about something and a procedure of the meeting.
I'm sorry.
And fair is fair.
Yeah. No. I appreciate that. No, that didn't come within the format that I'm referring to now. Is that okay?
There be no misunderstanding. I am the culprit that is actually under the cautionary spotlight.
I'm not.
Let me finish, Colin.
Sorry,
Please.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, you know, I am learning as I go along, and I understand that, you know, enthusiasm and zeal can on occasion get over-passionate. And if I have in any way upset or offended anybody on this council, I do apologise. It wasn't my intention. I've also learned that it's worth asking the questions. Now, I can't store up all the questions for them solely to be dealt with once a month at a parish council meeting, or is what you're saying actually that's what you've got to do?
No, if you want to ask a question,
or a suggestion.
but the point also that goes with it is that, you know, Andrea's busy at work, Warwick is busy at work, Nigel is busy at work, Malcolm doesn't see the emails, unfortunately. Owen cannot be at our beck and call all the time. So I think you have to take those comments and work within them. But rest assured, many of the emails that you send are comment and opinion, and some of them others have been responded to you directly and openly this evening. So I don't see any necessity, but I cannot control your what you want to ask of us.
Of course.
You are free to do whatever you or write whatever you wish. But all I'm saying is we won't continue a debate from something that we've discussed at the meeting. If you want some information, then I'm sure Owen would gladly provide it.
One of the things that I think is important is that the amount of people that see an email, so it's a reply to all or reply to an individual. I think if it's a matter of substance, in other words, it's a matter that affects the whole council, then it goes to the council, possibly with only copy to myself, rather than a copy written to me with a copy to the council. It's a small difference, but it is different.
Mm-hmm.
You're writing to the council on that occasion, you're not writing to me. I'm picking up on the detail, but I'm not actually responding to it. And you know, I noticed that if I look through my emails I did this morning over the last sort of month or so, it's amazing the variety of different people that have been copied in. Some have been copied into just received. For example, Warwick sent me said received the agenda minutes. Fine. You only send it to me. That's fine. You don't need to send that to me.
Yeah.
But if it was to do with something more substantial, it was a question of policy, shall we say, or a question you want to ask, then it should go to everybody, not just for one or two people.
Yeah.
But what Colin's saying is it shouldn't really go to anybody because it shouldn't be discussing it outside of a meeting.
Yeah, but surely if you think about it in a modern society, yeah. So yeah, I am at work, I'm busy. So's Andrew, so's Nigel. Nigel's out of the country. At the end of the day, email is a forum that you can have open, frank discussion or debates about something. The matters of consideration, some of these points are actually from debate or discussions that were created via that email traffic. And the point is that they're there and people have had time to digest and think about it, and then actually create a very good, constructive meeting this evening where people have come to the meeting knowing what should be answered and how to answer it because they've had time to digest that and think about it before coming to me. And like Bob explained about bits and pieces, etc., and we've had quite a good, open and frank debate about all sorts of things. It's been quite an informative meeting, but if those emails didn't actually trigger that thought process prior to the meeting, we'd have just rattled through this, gone home, you know, and nothing really would have been discussed or anything of substance got out.
Yeah, no, I accept your point. If you wish to write, if David wishes to write emails, that's fine, but he may not get a response or he may not get a debate because it could be complied as being secretive because people aren't part of the debate. We are recorded, we're part of the open and honest debate here. And also, we cannot keep debating between meetings. It doesn't serve any purpose. This is, as you quite rightly say, you've sent the emails, David sent the emails, and we've had a really good debate. That's the way we should be doing it. And I'm grateful for those councillors that have...
So I think really what's come out of that is if councillors have ideas or things to throw out on the table, is to throw those ideas out via email or whatever, so they can actually come up to be discussed at meeting. But it also gives other councillors around the table time to think about their ideas, views about that, so we can have a constructive and calm and open debate because everyone's thought about it before coming to the meeting instead of having a knee-jerk reaction on the night, and it's where there's hostility.
I suppose the problem is, Warwick, is that people have got different levels of email usage. I mean, some people around the table obviously don't use their email quite so much as others. So therefore what you've got is a few people debating some subjects, whereas the others are not necessarily involved in it. I mean, for example, Malcolm, you've got my copies that I sent you of some of the email traffic, which I try to do now, because I feel that Malcolm needs to be fully briefed on things that are happening online, which he's not able to see normally. But, you know, I know, Cynthia, you know, you're not a great emailer, are you? I understand that. So therefore, because you're not a great emailer, it means that you're, in a sense, you're not participating in an email traffic on an ongoing basis.
No,
and there's no reason why you should be, because it's not a requirement for a councillor to be on email even, let alone participate in the debate. So it's a very difficult one, and I think it's up to the council to decide how they wish to move forward on it. Actually, I think it's up to this council, not me, you, as how you want it to be moved on.
I would say that all of us, without exception to David and Warwick, that we have been together for a very long time. We've all sat here for in excess of 6 years. Warwick has participated in the things that I've shared at this meeting. We have watched the YouTube, and Warwick has actually had a lot of information about the background that we've discussed over the years, and why we don't have double yellow lines, and why we decided not to have the 20 miles an hour, because we live in the same house, and sometimes we do stop talking about work. And I think that you're on an island, David, you know, and I feel you've got to get up to speed. This is your your third time here, and I suppose it does promote an awful lot of questions, and that those questions you feel, you know, you would like to have the history, you would like to have a bit of background information. I'm more than happy to share any of that with you. Yes, we have to do emails because we have to correspond with the world rather than just our next door neighbours. So, you know, for us that is an essential part of our everyday life. And I believe, you know, that you have to ask these questions for you to know where you're going to go and what you can talk about. I understand, you know, with Malcolm and with Cynthia that they're not email fanatics, as we wouldn't be letter writing fanatics or phone call fanatics, because you have this written what is the word?
Absolutely.
But you can see the answers and the response, and you can see how everything is building. And with an email, you've always got that whole story rather than a little bit of this. You know, and I said to somebody on the kitchen table, or I said to somebody on the phone the other weekend. With an email, what is it called? Like the traffic of it.
No, it's just you've got traceability.
Traceability, and I would say that out of everything, that an email is more transparent than a phone call and a meeting around a kitchen table, because the transparency is there. I believe if we all copy everybody in, you know, if some decide not to reply, that's okay. If somebody do reply, then everybody can see that and we can share that. It's the way of the world. We've got to evolve. I don't object to your emails. I think they're very thought-provoking, and instead of me mindlessly going around for the other 29 days, you know, thinking about everything else while the parish council, I think it's quite good to actually sort of think about the decisions that have been made and the history, and about how to go forward and to do things differently, and to, you know, work together as a team. We're just representatives of the village, and I don't think that we need to fall out or there's any underlying agendas. I feel that, you know, we're just together for a couple of hours once a month, you know, to debate the good of the village that we live in.
Thank you. Yeah,
Bob? Was anything to say? Again, I mean, if issues are raised through the emails, then as you say, we can look at them. I just think ultimately having a debate amongst the councillors is helpful, because you then get input from everybody.
Yeah.
Whereas the email isn't going to happen.
Oh right, I'm with you.
And at least if you get an answer, I mean, if I'm answering some stuff tonight, if Dave's got further queries and say, well, yeah, I understand that bit, but an email sometimes it can just go on and on. Whereas if we can have discussions here, then everybody on the council gets to hear what the answers are, and if they don't understand it, they can raise it as well.
But none of us are doing that. It is just David, and it is. I think it's just catch up, you know. And you know, you've got valid points. You know, you've got things going on in your head. You know, I don't quite understand what this is. Can I ask you to explain? And I mean, if it was me that was writing this, and I was writing 4 or 5 a day, and they were, you know, the pages long, you'd be like, Jesus Christ, Andrew, you know, you've been on this long enough. You know, like I know, but you don't. So I just think we need to give David
Believe me,
some
I'm
slack.
learning bloody fast.
Yeah, just a bit of slack, just to catch up.
And I hope also with tonight, what it's shown David and anyone in the council, if there are things you want to raise,
Yeah.
raise them, because
Yeah.
we'll try and
Yeah.
answer it, but
And you control the agenda.
Well,
don't you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I only put an agenda together on things that you want to.
We've put forward.
All
yeah.
of these matters of consideration were not things that I dreamed up.
No,
They were things that were asked to be on the agenda.
yeah.
The only thing I put on there, which you're not aware of, is the financial bits. But outside of that,
It's
Yours.
just the
It's yours,
government,
not
yeah,
mine.
of course.
Okay, well that was very valid, thank you. Village green and surroundings, that's sorted really, hasn't it? Oh, sorry, I'm
There's one
sorry.
thing I would
Sorry.
like to add. I think on the grounds of health and safety, we might consider a sign saying danger high water along this, where this green is.
Do we actually know how deep it is?
I don't.
Because I mean, potentially,
Several feet.
potentially, if a child does go over there and falls in,
Yeah.
they can drown.
Yeah.
And it's murky and stagnant, and it not necessarily anyone would even know they'd gone in and drowned. So I just think for covering ourselves,
Yeah.
we should even have danger, deep water or anything like that, a sign dotted along there, just to cover our asses if something did happen.
No, good point.
The couple who came to the surgery this afternoon, they had their son go into the ring to do some clearing out and got the bags, and he was, way up to his chest.
Was he really?
It's huge.
Well, they are, those rings are deep, anyway, they're always open, but you can't tell by just looking.
They're probably deep because
You're going to meet them, aren't
they're
you?
probably deep there because it isn't burning.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm trying to answer by next week. And we can't really make many decisions about what we are going to do. Because clearly, we've got the riparian owners when we start deciding what we're going to do, the hedge, the fence, the chain link, and all of this. It's going to cost quite a lot of money and it needs to come up for discussion. But the first thing is, let's get the survey done out of the way and I will report that back. And actually, if I can get a report from Matthew Wall, and I get it in writing, that I could circulate by email, so we'll all have a look at that. And hopefully get a cost out of it, if he intends to do anything about it, because that's not absolute concern.
But I mean, in a way, something has to be done about it, doesn't
But
it?
he's not, the trouble is, as Bob will know, that ring is not the responsibility of the drainage board. He can give a report on it, and where the water flows, or does not flow, is out underneath the road, which again is not the responsibility of the drainage board, so there's going to be an argument.
Between the right ground.
So,
But hang on though, but Axtrew can get quite surety and send an enforcement notice to clear it and sort it out. Because they did to us, they got quite surety when they insisted I had to get in there and dig out the open culverts. And then when we closed it over, encased it in and then building control came out and checked it as part of the renovation of our listed building, Axtrew got quite surety with the fact that water building control, they don't know what they're on about. And then there was a debate between Axtrew and building control. However, they can enforce landowners to sort out the culverts and
you're absolutely
regardless. It's
You're
their
right.
right, it's
I
their
think what
right.
we would do is get a report in. But having said the fact that there's deep water there, and one of the reasons is because the water is not flowing, and David did have a look at it when he went round there about 3 months ago. Maybe we can free it, but if it's not going to flow underneath the road, I don't know what happens there, and I think part of that is a problem.
Well, it must have gone somewhere.
No, but if the culvert under the road is blocked, whose responsibility is it? And then you have a problem, and as Colin quite rightly said, we have a major problem of flooding in the
yes, behind the houses.
behind there, and it was sticking, and it goes behind that house, and Matthew Wall came and said, if I blow it,
I know.
I'll blow half the house out.
Well, because
So we'll see.
I think there's valid points, Warwick. I think let's hear what Matthew Wall's got to say. I think a valid point that Andrew made as well is where is the silt going to be deposited that they drag out, because there's probably loads there. Are they going to dump it on their gardens or on our village green, in which case we need to have something to take it all away. So it's a big, let's see what he's got to say, and then move from there. Are you happy with that, Bob?
In the meantime, do we need to do something about these signs for danger signs?
Yeah.
I think we
That's
should. It is deep water, children could drown in it.
What's about it?
Just area signs.
Deep water danger, 20 quid actually.
Area signs, John.
Yeah.
Do you want me to get a sign made by area signs?
Actually, for what, a couple?
I would put 3.
Yeah.
Well, it's only where the fence is broken down and the children go through.
Yeah.
Because if you actually put it in front of that to say dangerous deep water, we've done our bit at the moment. We're trying to say and warn them.
Yeah. Okay.
Red on white.
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
that's
2.
right.
Okay. 2.
Shall I get a quote?
All those in favour?
Some of
just
the
buy
backs on
them.
the signs?
Well, I don't think it needs to be sort of.
Well, you want it so they can see
Well, they
it.
can read it, I mean, you can read it saying that
It's
sign.
fulfilling our obligation, isn't it, of safety?
Well,
I will get an appropriate size. Do I order it or just get the quote?
Well,
Of course,
order it.
Do it.
Do it.
Go mad.
Do it.
I don't think it'll be much more than 20 quid.
Do it.
I'll get hold of it.
Just like nice on the green.
Budget of say 50, 60 quid.
Yeah, we can, yeah, that's about,
Yeah,
that's
that's
about 50, 60 pound budget.
Okay,
50, 60 quid budget.
the proposal is then we allow up to a budget of £50, no more, to purchase 2 signs stating deep water, or I don't know what the wording's going to
Just
be.
Danger deep water, and there is actually an approved sign for it.
Yeah,
If you look online, there are actually statutory warning triangles, danger deep water.
Yeah.
There are 2 other matters as far as the green is concerned. One is Jason Mayer, of course. As John, you raised it about the length of the grass outside the toilet block and whether he needs to cut it more regularly. He currently is contracted to do 8 cuts a year. That may not be sufficient, and we may well feel that needs to be cut more often, in which case we need to change his contract to affect that, actually. And the other thing was the weeds problem along the side of the far side there. You were saying how bad those.
Well, it does get bad, and the thing is that in the past, in past years, David has been here. David's had the time. He said, no, it's all right, I've got some weed here, I will do it. It probably would be much better if it could be included on a biannual basis, something like that, with Jason. So that, I think, needs to be looked at and extended. He's not cutting the grass behind the mugger, because it's full of laces and it's quite long. There is the grass outside the toilet block. I mean, who is supposed to be doing that?
Jason doesn't it?
Well, it was very long.
8 times a year.
I have to confess I didn't see it was cut now today. And then there are all the weeds around the back of the toilet block and around the car park, because it's been noted, you've noticed it. So it hasn't been done for months.
I'll ask Jason to look at it. However, he's not very keen on doing weed killing.
Yeah, but there's new licensing now, and so only certain contractors can use.
So we might have a specialist contractor
Yeah.
into that.
Because of the new pesticide rules and regulations.
So I'll have, do you want to have a look at that? See what
David's got a licence to be able to do it,
Mm.
and he's done it in the past. So that is an option. The other thing is, of course, is that it's been commented on, and the bushes, as you come through the main gate on the right, are very much overgrown. They should be cut back. It's crystal clear that Jason doesn't want to do it. So,
Well, that's-
no, but he
It might be
does.
worth asking you, because he has already said that he'll do the overhanging brambles that are coming
Well,
on the other side.
he's been reluctant to pass to it, but I mean, again,
Yeah,
so it's not
I mean, the thing about Jason is that, you know, obviously we have these conversations from time to time, and if you do ask him to do these things, he often does them, but you've got to keep on, you know, reminding him. The other thing is the Colin Lewis GB Sports issue. Obviously, as you know, we've had this constant flow of low risk.
Yeah.
I spoke to Colin about this, and he said, actually, you would never get anything lower than low risk. There would never be any such thing as no risk. He said, we would never put no risk on any document. So your low risk is the lowest we go. However, there are some things there that are perhaps higher priority under the low risk category than others. And what he suggested doing is meeting up with a member of the council, identifying what the more important issues are, and giving us a quote to do it. Is that something you would like me to arrange with somebody?
I'm
Who would like to do it?
Well, I mean,
Brian? Brian and John?
Brian, John, I could, yeah,
Right,
John.
Yeah, okay.
If you have a day.
Okay.
That's right.
Get a day for you.
On a formal note, I've got sidetracked. Can I please have your acceptance for £50 so
Yes.
John can go and get the signs?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Certainly
Done.
not. Certainly not.
Fire Rescue Services from Devon, Cornwall.
That's sort of David.
Yeah, it's actually Devon and Somerset.
Devon and Somerset.
Oh, sorry.
I raised it as a question when it became apparent that a lot of local communities were getting very, very concerned about the upcoming plans for massive reductions. There was a decision by the Devon and Somerset Fire and Rescue Authority on last Friday, 28th. And what they've done is to put out for consultation over the coming 12 weeks a 6 options package. But having looked at those, as far as I can see, none of their significant reductions affect us. I mean, I don't know if you're sort of more aware of anything, Bob, that I can't see anything straight. But I think it is worth keeping an eye on it, because although there might not be anything as draconian as a proposed fire station closure here, as is being the case in a lot of other places, parts of the other options include reducing the hours, reducing the number of people, taking away a fire engine. So given our proximity to things like the M5, it just strikes me that we just need to keep a watching brief, really.
Okay. Thank you, David. Did you want something?
Yes, I understand that Burnham is a retained fire station. Firemen are on retained contracts. Does that make a difference?
It can do. That's why we need to keep a watch on it, because in some cases what they're looking to do is to reduce actual staffing levels. The Firemen's Union are actually right now threatening industrial action against the entire package of options put forward by the Devon and Somerset Authority on the basis that both firemen and public lives, in their view, would be put at risk by some, if not all, of the options.
Okay, thank you. Is that okay, Mark? Thank you. Happy with that? Okay, last item, matters to report.
We've got it for September or October, whichever.
Yes.
Yes.
This is another sheep wedding up on the hill as you go out by the church. You know, you go across the field and there's sheep in there.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Mike Diamond, and he said, oh, this was about a couple of weeks or so ago, that there has been a sheep killed, and the dog was seen. And so somebody did see the dog. So it was, you know, it's a guy who's got Texel sheep, Tim somebody, I forget his other name. Anyway, he's got quite a few sheep there. Anyway, that was dog riding because somebody saw the dog chasing the sheep, and he found it dead. You know, so that's just another thing that's going on, and it's people letting their dogs off. And you see, if the dog isn't used to sheep, it'll just run up, run them. You know, and we do live in a farming community here, and there are so so many people with dogs and they really, really haven't got a clue.
Okay, thanks, Cynthia.
You know, I think something should be put up.
Okay, we'll
I
have a
don't
look
know
at
what.
that.
Anyway,
But we'll
that
put
was
on the
that.
agenda. Andrea?
The date of the next meeting is the 4th of September.
Yes.
Oh, you know that.
Yeah.
Warwick and I won't be here, we're on holiday. And I'm also down to do the village green inspection, which that's not a problem, I can do that as long as somebody can read it out for me, but I won't be able to go to the, what's the thing in the afternoon?
Surgery.
Yeah,
Well, I did the surgery for you.
thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll swap over when it's your turn, I'll do yours.
That's okay, yeah. And then if you give the book, say, to David, as you down that end of the
Yeah,
page, then
that's fine.
David can read your report. Is that
Yeah.
all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Brilliant. Warwick?
No, I'm fine with
Fine.
something. Yeah,
Good.
Now,
Right?
Sorry to disappoint you, yes. First of all, the mobile library has been cancelled yet again this week. It's been broken down for months and months and months. I'm waiting for a new one. And
Right.
this has gone on and on. And a lot of the elderly people of this parish are quite displeased about it. Secondly, I suggested some time ago at a meeting that we discussed provision for the under fives on the village green.
Yeah.
And it was asked of me by a member of the public.
Okay.
There is nothing for the under fives really, apart from that little tractor
Yeah.
thing. And could we put that on the next agenda? And also, I did a paper at the annual parish meeting about beautifying the village,
Mm.
and I wonder if we could discuss that, please.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because I didn't realise that there was a Somerset Day.
Yes,
In
there
our
was a
calendar.
Somerset Day, yes.
Yeah, and it would be nice to work towards something for Somerset Day.
When is it?
Um, it was this year. I know it was, and it's gone this year. But I mean, for next year, if somebody was to
sailing?
No.
No, it's January. No, it's an annual sailing, Somerset.
no, that's another activity, isn't it? Yeah.
It's quite a lot.
Okay, David, any matters?
Only a question. Brian passed me the book because we've both done it within the same month.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to do August as well?
No, you don't
I
have to
have
do
August.
No, because
You
you're
don't have to
No, somebody already on for
Well, I
us.
just thought August was
I'll tell you, give me a second, should I tell you?
Because I did, as you know, I did it on Monday because it was 1st of
August,
July.
well, August no surgery, but we're looking at the
Chairman, can I just make a comment?
Yes.
Nigel.
Because basically, obviously, David's down for July. He's done an inspection at the beginning of July, but part of the thing of doing the inspection is to try and do it more than just the once, because in terms of if something gets damaged on the equipment,
Yeah.
then hopefully you pick it up and can report it to Owen, and then
Understood.
we get that dealt with. So it's
Actually, Nigel is down for August, if,
Yeah.
so,
Well, I'll have a further look in July.
and Andrew, you're okay for the audit meeting
Yeah.
in October?
Yeah,
When the audit meeting in October?
October will be the date of the meeting. Whatever date
Oh,
it is.
sorry, yeah, fine, okay.
What was involved in there?
No, I haven't done it. So, David, Bob, you got anything? No, I've got nothing. Thank you all very much. Very constructive meeting, and pleasant to see you all. Thank you very much.
Which is on